this past month, I have been spending and spending and spending. You see, I recently decided to make a big life decision and move across the country from Colorado to Georgia. I said I moved to Georgia. And this past month, I have emptied out my apartment, took a short vacation in New Mexico, drove 3 days across the country to get to Georgia, looked for an apartment, got an apartment, and furnished the apartment. But this past month has been incredibly fun, but it's also been incredibly expensive. This past month, life has been more expensive than normal. And in life, whether you're doing a big move or just living your life, there are moments when things just get a lot more expensive. But if you're intentional with how you use your money, you can lower your expenses and make it a bit less expensive. And so in this video, I want to share 10 ways that I've been able to save money as my life has gotten more expensive this past month.
Hello, and welcome back to Money Mentor. Today, we have an exciting topic to explore. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss our valuable content. Let's dive right in.
And the first way is give yourself a long window to prepare. Now, there are certain things in life that come at a complete surprise, and there is no possible way for you to prepare for them, like having a major health issue or totaling your car. You never know when those things are going to happen. You can't really prepare for them. However, a lot of things we know ahead of time that they're going to happen. For example, I knew that I was going to move 6 months before I did it. And in those 6 months, I looked to see if I could afford it financially. I examined the housing market. I worked hard so I could take some time off. I saved more and I sold my stuff. And when it came time to do the actual move, I was ready. It wasn't stressful and I was able to enjoy it. And it actually went a lot more smoothly than I thought it would. But there are moments in life that we know ahead of time they're going to happen, like with my move. And if you give yourself a long window to prepare and think of all the things that you're going to have to do, then it's going to cost you a lot less because you're prepared for it. Now, the second way is don't forego prevention. If you have ever driven across the United States, you have seen how giant this country is because getting from one side to the other takes 4 to 5 days. And that's going 75 miles an hour on a perfectly straight road. It's hard to understand how big and diverse the United States is unless you drive it. And because it's so big, it's important to make sure that your car can handle it. And so 3 weeks before I moved, I took my car to the mechanic for an inspection. And there was actually a big issue I needed to get fixed. And I paid the money to get it fixed because the last thing you want when you're on that drive on a desolate road is to have car problems with no cell reception and no one nearby. There's a saying that goes, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Spending money on prevention is always going to be cheaper than spending money on the cure. And even when life is getting extremely expensive, it's important to remember to take the preventative steps to take care of your things so you don't run into a bunch of surprise expenses along the way. Now, the third way is spread out your purchases. So as I said earlier, I knew 6 months ahead of time that I was going to move, and I used those 6 months to prepare, which made things more manageable and a lot less stressful. But also with that timeline, I started to pay off things early as soon as I could to make it even more manageable. For example, before I was going to head back east, me and some other people planned on going to Santa Fe for a few days. In 4 months before that trip, I paid off the Airbnb as well as some other expenses. And when I went to Santa Fe, I didn't have to worry about paying for that expense because I already paid it off months earlier. And just like giving yourself a window of preparation, it's also good to give yourself a window to spread out your purchases and pay them off slowly over time. That way you don't have all these expenses coming at you at the exact same time, and it makes it a lot more manageable. Now, the fourth way is focus on accomplishing one task before moving on to the next. Now, in this moving process, I had so many things that I needed to do. I need to get ahead on videos, sell my stuff, clean out my apartment, pack my stuff in my car, drive across the country, look for apartments, start working again, do apartment paperwork, and furnish my apartment. I've had to do so many things this past month and it has been exhausting. But one way that I've made it more manageable and a lot less stressful is instead of looking at the big picture of all these things that I need to get done, I focus on one task at a time, like getting ahead on videos, complete it and move on to the next task, and focus on that task, complete it and move on to the next one. When you focus on the big picture of all these things that you need to do, it quickly gets really overwhelming and unmanageable. But when you focus on just one thing and immerse yourself in that task and getting it done before you move on to the next, it becomes a lot less overwhelming and more manageable. Now, the fifth way is prioritize what needs to be done now and what can wait. So once I got here to Georgia, there were so many things that I needed to do. And if I decided to do them all at once, it would have meant spending a lot of money in a short period of time. But what I did instead to save money is to prioritize what needs to be done right now, like getting an apartment, setting up utilities, and get some furniture like a bed and couch. And then I decided what were the things that could wait, like decorating my apartment and buying other miscellaneous things. I'm in my new apartment right now. I no longer have 15 shades of gray paint on my walls, thank God. And I got a washer and dryer and a dishwasher. But it's still pretty bare, and there's a lot of things that I want to do to make it feel more like a home. However, those things can wait, and instead I'm going to spread out those purchases over time to make it more manageable. When life gets more expensive, it's good to prioritize what needs to be done right now and what can wait, because it allows you to avoid overspending and having a bunch of expenses coming at you at once. Now, the sixth way is find cheaper alternatives. So before I left Colorado, I sold all my big stuff like my furniture, but I kept my small stuff like my dishes. It would have been too expensive to ship all my stuff across the country. So this past week, I have been focusing on furnishing my new apartment, which depending on how you do it, can get very expensive. But if you're resourceful, you can cut that expense and save a lot of money. For example, I bought this coffee table at a thrift store for $25, this couch on Facebook Marketplace for $300, and this new mattress off Amazon for $300. I will buy pretty much everything used, but one thing I will not buy used is a mattress, and I do not think I need to explain why. But when life gets more expensive, if you are resourceful with how you go about spending your money and do things like buying used stuff, you can cut your expenses and save a lot of money. Now, the next way is ask for help instead of money. So if you have ever moved, you know that you cannot do it without the help of friends and family because there are certain things that you just can't move by yourself. And probably the biggest example of this is a couch. Nobody can move a couch by themselves. No matter how strong you are, you need help from someone else to move a couch. And there are many other things in life where we need help from other people. And I find that most people are willing to help with tasks like moving, or watching your kid while you work, or driving you somewhere when your car is broken. And getting this help can help you save money as well as make it much more manageable. However, I think that most people are not willing and able to help when it comes to asking for money. Most people have their own financial problems. They're not in the position to help when it comes with money. But when life gets expensive, if you seek and ask for help outside of money from a supportive community, it can make things more manageable and a lot less expensive. Now, the eighth way is be careful of the small purchases. When you're moving, it's easy to get caught up in all these things that you have to do, that you start making a bunch of small purchases to make things slightly easier, like eating out after a long day, getting coffee while on the move, and using certain services to make things easier. And although it's nice to do these things every now and then, these small purchases can quickly add up to hundreds of dollars. When life gets more expensive, it's easy to get caught up in all the big expenses and not see the significance of the smaller purchases. But these smaller purchases can quickly add up to a big expense. And so it's important to be careful with making a bunch of small purchases when life gets more expensive. Now, the ninth way is accept your limitations. This past month, I have accomplished a lot. However, there's always that thought in the back of your mind thinking, I can do more. When life gets expensive, it's very easy to start to put unrealistic expectations on yourself, like working harder to make more money and getting more tasks accomplished in a day. And you can quickly get overwhelmed because working too much can make you stressed out, and getting more tasks done can exhaust you. And when life gets chaotic and more expensive, I think it's very important to be realistic with yourself, not set unrealistic expectations on yourself, and accept your limitations. As a human being, there is only so much that you can do in a day. And if you don't accept these limitations and keep pushing, eventually you're going to reach this breaking point and things are going to become a lot worse. Now, the final way to save money when life gets expensive is always be ready to take a financial hit. Although I have been spending more money lately, it hasn't really affected me that much financially because I live my life always preparing for financial hits. I'm always living below my means and I'm always saving as much as I can. And I think just as a general life practice, it's always good to be preparing financially because one, you can recover from financial hits quicker, and two, you can do more of what you want. When you are always financially prepared, whether times are normal or when life gets expensive, you will have less stress. You can enjoy your life more and you can do more of what you want. I could have saved thousands of dollars by staying in Colorado, but I wanted to do something different and I had the financial means to do so. And so I was perfectly comfortable with spending a few extra $1,000 this past month in order to live the life I want. And when you live your life financially prepared, always ready for financial hits, you can use that money to empower yourself and do more of what you want in life.